good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you tune in. I suppose that's sort of my catchphrase at this point. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 74 of Run It Back. I am your host, Menelik Fernandez. Thank you for tuning in. And as I always say, I hope you continue to find value in what we're trying to accomplish here. Basically, the premise of the show remains the same, where we take teams that have played previously and we run the game back, so to speak, where we spend a lot of time talking about preparation. We talk about how coaches put together their scout, how they deliver their scout, who they deliver their scout to, what in-game adjustments they make, and what is of importance to them, say statistically or on box sheets, that kind of thing. And then from there, we take a look at some clips from the game and we talk about, what we liked, what we didn't like, if we would do the things the same or differently. Pretty much since episode number 6, I've been very fortunate to have a coach from the game join us. And today is no different. So today we are looking at Seattle Rotary versus the Nightrydas Elite. This is a Nike EYBL game that took place July 19th, 2021. So it's a fairly recent game as we're recording September 24th. And we are very fortunate to have my friend, Coach Addison Smith, join us today. Addison, if you give me a second, I'll try my best to give you a warm welcome to the show. Addison was a GA at Campbellsville and then went on to coach high school as an assistant coach for 5 years at Park Vista. He then spent 2 years as a head coach at Boynton Beach. And then in this most recent year, he returned to Park Vista as the head coach. And during all of this time, he has, of course, spent 4 years on the EYBL circuit with Nightrydas Elite. And just as an aside, he is somebody that is part of a group that I join in, listen, and try and grow and learn from each week, and always has tremendous shares and is just a fantastic person overall. So Addison, I'm really excited to sit down, spend some time with you. Thank you for taking some time out of your day.
Thanks, Menelik. Thanks for having me. First and foremost, I'll definitely say thanks for the opportunity. I've been on a couple of these. So to get a chance and the opportunity to share my passion through the game of basketball with people like yourself and others, it's a great feeling.
I
Um,
appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, man.
Love it. Love it. So let's delve in. For those who don't know, for those who might be living under a rock, or maybe just not from North America, give
hmm
us a little bit of a background about the circuit, the importance of it, where players can go to, what's the next stepping stone. Just give us a little bit of background about that and a little bit of a background about the Nightrydas program, if you could.
Cool, cool. So, my program, Nightrydas Elite, we're part of the Nike EYBL, which stands for Elite Youth Basketball. It's compiled of, I want to say, 32, 17 U programs across the country. There's one team in Canada, and then there are roughly at least 2 teams in each state
Right.
uh, around the U.S. And pretty much this program, this league is set up to showcase the talent of the best kids across the country,
Right.
in hopes of having success on the next level, whether it's the NBA, college, high major Division I college athletes. Now we have this new overtime elite league, so you're seeing kids go there as well. But my program, Nightrydas Elite, has been around. We're going into our 4th year on the EYBL, but we've been around for roughly 7 or 8 years now. We started when our 22 class was in 2nd grade, so we've been around for a nice little while now.
Right.
In our program thus far, through our 3 years on the EYBL, we have Scotty Barnes, who was drafted 4th to Toronto. So you'll see a lot of him this year.
Yeah.
We also have Isaiah Todd, who was drafted 30, I want to say 31st to Washington.
Right.
So we
So
have
competition level is high would be an
it's high.
understatement.
It's
Love
high,
it.
yeah, man. So just a little bit about our program too, a little more. In the last, so our 3 years being on the circuit, we've had in our 22 class, we have the number one point guard in the class, Jazion Gortman. Um, Malik Renew is the top 40 kid. Jet Howard, son of Juwan Howard, who coaches at Michigan. Greg Glenn, who was also a top 40, top 50 kid. And to go to our other classes, we have a kid currently top 5 in the 24 class, Jakai Howard. In our 23 class, we have 2 guys that are currently, I want to say, top 40 or top 50. One is Sam Waters and Jaylen Carey, who's the younger brother of Vernon Carey that plays for the Charlotte Hornets.
Love
So
it.
we have some pretty decent talent. My job and the job of our program is just to give kids in South Florida or our region, which covers Florida, Georgia, and Arkansas, the opportunity to showcase their skills at the highest level, to give them an opportunity to be able to do something else in life that they wouldn't be able to do on a regular day basis. And it's a lot. It's a lot of work on me. Unfortunately, with the workload, I did take a step back from coaching high school this year,
Right.
kind of focus a little more on travel and being able to support those kids with attending games and different things like that. So I'm really excited about it.
Well, I love that. I appreciate you for it. Let's see if we can, excuse me, do our best to showcase some of that work that you put in preparation for these games. Let's talk a little bit about the format of how games happen. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that you have sessions and then there's multiple games within each session, and then
Mhm.
there's like a championship session. So for this particular game, which is July 19th against Seattle Rotary, we're in one of the sessions. When do you start preparing? How do you start preparing? Do you know who you're playing? When do you get scheduled? What goes into a scout? All that kind of fun stuff.
Cool. So on a regular year for us with Nike, we usually have about 4 sessions.
Right.
Uh, they're based in different spots across the country, and
Right.
based upon your record within those 4 sessions, determines who makes it to Peach Jam, which is our final
Right.
um, for our tournament. Unfortunately, last year we didn't have a season with COVID, and with the uncertainty of numbers this year, we kind of had a more condensed season where we spent, I want to say, July 13th through the 23rd. So roughly about 10 to 14 days in Augusta, South Carolina. And we played in one session where it was 6 games in 7 days. And based upon your record in the 6 games, determined whether or not you made it to Peach Jam the following week.
Right.
Unfortunately for us, once we get to the end of this game in the scout, pretty much for you to get into Peach Jam, you pretty much got to be 5-2.
Okay.
You can't really lose many games. The talent level across the board in this league is high level, so it's not really anything special you have to do as a coach. You just have to be able to get your guys to get up to be able to play to make it to that second week. This year, like I was saying in the beginning, with us having such a condensed season, we brought in a new tool of being able to use synergy. And most guys at the collegiate level know how synergy works. Some days it'll take an hour to get a game loaded. Another day it'll take 12 to 24 hours to get it loaded. So our game schedule, we would play the first day, I think we played at 6 p.m. And our 6 p.m. game didn't get loaded until 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
So the schedules were set up where you had pools. You have six or 17 pools split amongst your different division, and you pretty much play out to see who the top 2 are gonna come out automatically, and then there's a possibility for a third or a fourth. In our stretch here to prepare for this game, our bracket played at the same time. So I'm usually a guy who likes to live scout,
Right.
so I can hear play calls. I like to see players rather than watching the film. I know they always say, the eye in the sky doesn't lie,
Right.
but there are certain things you can't tell from watching a game film that you can tell watching it.
Oh, I lost you for a second there, Addison. Hold on. Let me just, I'll pause. Sorry about that. I lost you for a second. As you were saying, live scouting.
Yeah, live scouting is a lot easier for me. I would rather live scout just simply to be able to see the body language of the players, how they get along with as teammates. In this league, you have to try to find that one little inch that'll separate you because the players are so evenly matched across the board, one for another. So in this game, coming to the start of this, Seattle Rotary was 1-5. So they really didn't have a chance of making it to the second weekend. But in their games of being 1-5, they weren't like a slouch. Everybody's really competitive. They played New York Rens, who was probably arguably one of the best 16U teams in the whole entire division. They were down 40 at the half, ended up losing 68-63. So like really, really, really competitive. They beat Howard Pulley, which was their only win, 74-64. And we end up beating Howard Pulley on a buzzer beater. So anybody can be beaten, any day. So going into preparing for this game, if I don't have that option to be able to live scout and I'm looking at film and trying to break film down or see things, I don't really try to do much. I go by the acronym of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. You know what I mean? Because I know that I'm working with elite level kids. And a lot of the times when you have elite level kids, their attention span is like this. So you have to give them short things that are quick and to the point that they can remember that'll help them. And just through going through that game, I try to focus when I'm looking at their strengths and their weaknesses. I try to focus more on what they don't do well as a team, more so than what they do well. I try to find like one or two things and kind of hit on those and make sure we're focused. So in this game, the real thing I focused on was their biggest weakness to me was they didn't shoot the.
You went out again, Addison. All right, we lost Addison for a second there. We're going back to it. Addison, we were talking about live scouting, and we had moved on a little bit to just basically, my brain is slipping now. We had moved on a little bit in terms of like how you're preparing and keeping it simple at that point, and what information you're actually giving to the kids after you do some live scouting stuff.
Right. So mostly to this point, I try to keep it simple, looking at maybe one or two important details. So for this game, like I was up at 3:00 in the morning when it loaded to try to be able to catch things on this team. Not knowing, like personally, I didn't think we would have gotten to this point where we would have been down to this last game, trying to figure out whether or not we got into Peace Jam or not.
Right.
Based upon that one single game. So along the way, I was worried about the game. I respected them as a team, but it wasn't my top priority. So at this point, 3 a.m. On Sunday, I'm sitting up, or early Monday morning, I'm sitting up trying to go through this scout, and I saw that their biggest weakness as a team was their outside shooting ability.
Okay.
To this point, they were 2 of 12, 3 of 7, 5 of 10, 2 of 10 in all of their games. So the numbers weren't eye popping, you know what I mean, for this level of basketball.
Oh, you muted yourself. There you go.
Yeah, so it wasn't eye popping for what we were doing at this point.
And you would find all of that just sort of on the EYBL's website, and
so
combination with that and synergy type deal.
Exactly. So after every game, there's a live stat sheet that you get as a coach. And it's also loaded to the EYBL site as well. So you're able to find those things immediately compared to, as you know, you being able to have film. To me, at this point, when we were preparing for the game, we also had a size advantage on them. When you look at our roster, our front court was 6'8" guard, 6'9", forward, and 6'10" in the post. So looking at it, I wasn't really worried about it. They were 6'6", 6'5", 6'4". We had a size advantage on them. Their best player being their post player, Sherelle McCullum. He was about 6'6", could score it over either shoulder. Great 15-foot jumper, but you had to contest it. And he gets to the line. Like, he was the key to their offense of what I thought at that point in the game. And I figured if we were able to double down on him and make some other guys make shots that hadn't taken many shots, or cause him to shoot tough twos and finish over a wall, I felt like we had a better opportunity with containing them and getting the win.
So let's talk about a little bit about how you disseminate to the kids and the coaches on your team. You did mention that you are a guy who prefers a live scout, and you guys do have access to Synergy. Some of your players, you thought maybe, some of this is too much for the age that they're at and where they're at in their lives right now, which is, absolutely fine. You're still giving them things to give them advantages. And as you said, they're keep it simple, stupid type stuff. Do you talk to your coaches first, come to sort of an agreement as to what the game plan is going to be? And then when you talk to your kids, what are you saying to them about the one or two things that you're saying, like, hey, we're going to focus on this? Like, they're not a good shooting team, as you said. What does that mean that you guys are going to do in order to help force them into that more?
Right. So we met as a coaching staff probably about 2:00 that day before the game, and we sat down and we watched the film together. What I had pieced together as important clips of the film, and as a coach with my staff, I'm not the one that's just going to the table with information. So I give them the opportunity as well to be able to do their own research and bring it back. I think that only makes our program better. If everyone is involved and able to give their own piece, I think it helps us long term. So we sat down and we came up with this concept of what we wanted to do, and we physically came up with the game plan, and we delivered it to the kids. So I think, to answer your question, as far as how we present it to our players, the biggest key for kids in this 15 to 18-year-old range is their ability to stay focused. So locking in on these 5 things or whatever, 6 or 7 things that we brought in, they knew how important it was, because at this point it was either win this thing or we're all going back. Going back home, per se. So it was pretty much win it or go home. So with telling them, hey, this is our game plan. I want to focus in on being able to, front the post with our guards, or, play straight up. These are things that we practice over and over. So being able to just give them simple terminology, they knew what was expected. As far as the lack of their shooting, the kids were told, hey, they're not the best shooting team, but you got to respect every man on any day. Contest, close out. And that was something that we focused on. And the other big thing was they were a really good rebounding team. So we had to contest it and also get to the glass by boxing out and not really just relying on our athletic ability with that size.
As far as matchups go, do you guys do anything to the effect of, like, hey, this is the guy you're guarding and you're going to try to be on him as much as possible? Or with this level of talent, are you okay with switching through, 1 through 5, everybody able to guard everybody? Everybody should sort of know the 1 or 2 tendencies of everybody type deal.
Correct. I'm more of the latter. So I would rather be able to switch 1 through 5, because at the next level, when you think about it, these kids 5 men are guarding 2 and 3s or, quick ones, whether it's a short 20-second spurt or 10-second spurt, my 5 men should be able to sit down in the stance and be able to guard a point guard,
Right.
and be able to cut off the lane line, or if he gets to the lane, be able to contest with high hands at the rim. So when we start games, we usually start with certain matchups. In this game, I think I started with our 3-man on I'm trying to remember one of the guards that kind of the shortest kid, number 3. Like, I want to say his name's Jaylen Stewart.
Right.
Started him on Jaylen Stewart because I thought with his length and athleticism, he kind of gave us a better chance of denying what he could do.
Right.
We started with Jalen Carey as our 6'10" on their 5, but I started with Sam Waters, our forward, at 6'9", guarding their 2 guard, who was 6'2".
Sorry to interject. Number 3 is Jaylen Stewart. You're correct.
Yeah.
Just
So I started that way simply because I felt like our 2 guard, KJ Parker, would do a better job on their 4-man with fronting the post because of how physical he is going into that game. And I try to make sure when I give certain nuggets about kids, like you were saying earlier, there are few things that everybody can remember, key things that pop in, that if I know that if I'm guarding Sherelle McCullum, he's a post player, he likes to go over the right shoulder a lot for finishes, or he's a catch and face. So I make sure that they remember those things so that they come easy. And also as a staff and players on the bench, we're screaming out on catches, what he's trying to do to give those guys that memory as well. And a lot of times, like I was saying, because this level is so elite, we're not really running many plays,
Right.
Like it's more so freelance, run a few, not necessarily, I wouldn't call it sets, but few actions to get, good looks for your guys, and you kind of build it from there.
Yeah. Well, I actually do have a couple sets in there that I thought you ran pretty well. So we'll take a look at that when we get to some film. Something comes to mind right now that I think is applicable here, and I want to ask you about. Doobie is on this call, Coach Jean Dubison, and I think we both know him well, and we both think the world of him for sure. But Doobie connected me with a guy who was a guest on this show, Coach Charlie Wilson, JUCO coach from Florida, and Charlie said something in the aftermath of the show that he recorded that has really stuck with me. He said that basically every coach is a junior college coach at this point, and they don't realize it. And what he meant by that was it's going to become rare to see 4-year eligibility like players that are going to stay for the full years, full 4 years. It's also going to be rare to see in programs like yours at the level that you're at, players consistently stay and develop over 5, 6, 7 years type deal. People are in there for short term. So what I'm trying to get to in an elusive and roundabout way is talk a little bit about you don't have your kids for a long period of time before these type of games.
Right.
What are you working on in terms of screen coverages, how many to the glass, pace of play that stick with your style of play that you can then extrapolate and put into a game like this where they know what their benchmark is, what they have to be doing for those kinds of things?
And I'll tell you this. So with our program and our region, because we're so spread out, we pull kids from Alabama, Georgia, and Florida.
Right.
Our program's based in South Florida. So you try to get a kid from Birmingham, Alabama, or Mobile, Alabama, to Fort Lauderdale or West Palm Beach, Florida, on a Friday, it's tough. So we may see each other in the course of a season 6 times as far as full practices go. And we drill a lot of those things as far as philosophy. We focus more on defense in our mini camps with philosophy. So we know automatically, on ball screens, we're blitzing.
Right.
We're blitzing automatically, and we're gonna, zone up on the backside because we have size and length. We automatically know that. Across the board, we automatically know with dribble handoffs, it's an automatic switch.
Right.
So different things like that, those things we learn over time. And when we go to these different events, So like for this weekend, for this trip, actually, we were gone from July 6th until July 24th.
Wow.
With these kids, because there were 3 weekends in a row. And we practiced on the 6th, we played on the 7th. And a lot of those games that we play and we're playing, I wouldn't say lower level competition, but when we're playing teams that aren't EYBL teams, we're pretty much using those games as our practice.
Right.
Where, I'm taking time to kind of figure out a set or come up with an identity. Because, in this weekend, in this event, we lost our best player 3 days before we left to go with a torn labrum. And he was the only kid in our program on that 16U team that played 15U the year previous.
Right.
So he had the experience. He had been there. He was a part of our 2022 class that won Peach Jam when they were in 15U. So he knew what to expect, and that was the guy we were kind of counting on to give us our leadership and give us that identity to know where we should go on the floor as players. Yeah,
I love it. So now let's talk about like moving into game and like making adjustments on the fly and what sticks out and what you're tracking on the bench. What do you have your coaches looking at? What's important to you on the box score? And how do you correct errors when you start getting away from what that identity is that you're trying to create for yourself? Like how are you giving feedback, and are you subbing for performance, all those kinds of things?
So mostly when we're in game flow, we try to control the pace, and we want to dictate pace at all times. Right. If we start this game and in the beginning of the scout, I'm like, listen, these dudes can't run with us. We're running the whole game, based upon our point guards. And with the assistants that I have on the bench, one is dictated and geared towards defense. How many deflections we're getting, if we're getting steals, who's boxing out. The biggest thing we miss on the EYBL is so simple: keeping track of fouls, who's in foul trouble for each team. The other coach that I have that's sitting there, he's also keeping track of the number of times we're running offensive possessions or offensive sets. We had 3 main sets and just a freelance play that we allowed the guys to run. How many times in the game are we running those things? So when we get in a crunch time position, okay, this worked earlier in the game, let's go back to this set.
Right.
And we're able to do those things on the fly. And like I said, they're all simple little actions that create a lot of confusion and get what we need done.
Love it. When you're tracking it, you're also tracking the success of them. So it'll be like,
Correct.
We're running fist, and every time we run fist, it has been successful when it's on the left side of the floor or something like that, so that you can go back.
Correct. Because I'll tell you, like, even in this game, like, you'll see in the start, if we watch this game from entirety, from beginning to end, like, I'm a firm believer that with kids at this elite level, for them to go from their high school where they're the man to come to a team where you got a lot of guys that are like studs, it's hard for them to do. So we had a saying this year on our team: if I gave every player in my starting lineup 2 minutes to get their stuff off, to get whatever you want, how many points you can get up in 2 minutes, if I gave you an opportunity to do that in those 2 minutes, and we go through that 5, that takes 10 minutes of a 32-minute game, right? Who are you in the other 22 minutes? What kind of player are you for the rest of that game? Are you going to be one that's going to get on the floor for loose balls? Are you that good teammate that makes the extra pass to a teammate that's wide open? Who are you? Who are you going to show coaches and show the world that you are? And I think that helped us out a lot in determining our identity as a team. In this game, Jaylen Carey, our 5-man, was a man amongst boys. And our guys really sacrificed a lot to play through him in the post. And it helped us as a team because we were able to get extra shot opportunities when he was either missing or making the right pass from the post, and it helped us long term.
Well, he was absolutely killing in the second half of this game.
Yeah, like destroyed the second half of this game. And that's the biggest thing with him. We talk about it all the time. I actually talked to him the other night. If he can make up in his mind that he wants to play the game at a high level every time out, he could be a star.
Love it. Something you said just now really made me think of something that I do, and I appreciate the link in my mind, so I want to share. I do an exercise at the beginning of a season with guys a lot of the time where I'll be like, how many shots do you think you're going to shoot in a game? And how many shots do you think you need that would make you feel comfortable? And you go through the list, right? Let's say you got 12 on a roster and you add up all the shots, and it's like, I think last year we averaged 72 shots a game. But when the guys all like start saying their numbers, it adds up to like 170 shots a game, right? And it's like, okay, so now we have to start getting realistic, like as to who's going to sacrifice shots where. And it's like, should you be shooting 10 more than him? Is that what it should be type deal? And when guys start getting down to some realistic numbers, the reason that I had the link in my mind is if you gave everybody the 2 minutes to do whatever they want to do, and then the rest of the game, they have to figure out who they're going to be. It's a similar type deal where these kids have to figure out, well, if I'm not going to shoot the ball 22 times a game, how else am I going to make an impact on this game? Like, what is my value to the coach? How do I get on the floor? How many guys would you typically play?
So in a usual game, if I'm coaching my regular high school team, I'm going about 8 or 9 deep.
Right.
Possibly some games I may get to 10. In the EYBL, if you look at a majority of the teams, they're playing 6 to 7 guys.
Oh, wow.
On my roster, I want to say I had 8, and one of the guys got hurt. So I ended up playing 7, to go through 6 days with 7. So they got to be in really, really, really good shape. It always becomes a chess match, man. I'm not even gonna lie. Like it was such a chess match in this game from the standpoint of having the ability to change defenses as a team. And I think that's what helped us and, gave us that extra edge was the ability to go from pressing teams to dropping into a zone that didn't look like a zone. They thought it was a man-to-man, like just throwing different things at them. And I think that's one thing I do as a coach. I try not to stay in the same thing too long, so teams can get accustomed to it and just try to hit them with something different. Like I think too, our ability to have that much size. I mean, I think at one point in the game I was 6'3", 6'8", 6'9", 6'10". You know what I mean? It was really, really, we had a really huge lineup on the floor.
None of them are cumbersome, by the way. I just want to say to anybody who's listening, all of his guys could move.
You know what I mean? And have that ability to go that big against a team and not miss a beat. And have those guys really buy into that point of we're in the final 22 minutes. Who are we gonna be? What it's the tell of 2 different stories. That was a great feeling now that I look back at it.
Love it. I got 2 more, unless anybody else wants to jump in with something that sort of comes to mind. In this game, you're actually losing for pretty much all of the first half.
Correct.
And you get to the half and you got a little bit of momentum created. We'll get to video in a little bit. What are you saying to your guys? What is Coach Smith's persona like? What are you conveying? What's of importance? What sticks out on the box score? All those kinds of things. What are you saying to them to get them motivated, get them back into the game, let them know that this is far from over?
Right. So, I think when I went back and did the scout, like we were talking about earlier, I put a lot of pressure and emphasis on those 5 things that we wanted to talk about. So the level, I'm an easygoing guy. Like I'm real even keel. Like I'm a chill guy. You know that from seeing me in the Zooms,
right?
And us just hanging out and talking. you'll never know if I'm upset, if I'm stressed out. And I always have I learned that from playing for my dad, from seeing him go through the years that he's gone through coaching me, and the level of talent that he's coached, knowing that if I'm rattled as the head coach, I'm the head of the snake is our thing here.
Right.
I'm the head of the snake. And if they're able to chop off the head of the snake, the body doesn't have, a mind of its own at that point, and it's just gonna go wherever it wants to go. So I think I put a lot of pressure on our guys early, and we jacked up a lot of quick shots. We weren't focused on the scout. We let Jaylen Stewart just go crazy on us in the first half, shooting it. And being able to find a way was my word at the half.
Right.
It was find a way. Telling the guys we had been there before, let's find a way to get this done. We had played Team Griffin in our first game, and we were down 14, and that was like a big rivalry for us. So to go and win that game, and the kids see, hey, we can actually do this without Nate, who was the kid that we were missing. We've been here before. Let's just lock in, take it one possession at a time, and we'll get over the hump. I think the biggest thing that I addressed as far as in-game play was shot selection.
Right.
Shot selection. We were taking some really ill-advised shots, and just play through what had gotten us there. Jaylen had gotten us there. He was averaging about, at the time, I want to say it was like 19 and 12. He was a major key to us getting to where we were as far as the half court sets go. But offensively in transition, it was about us getting stops on defense and then being able to push the ball up the floor. I'm sorry.
You're good.
And being unselfish with our passes. A lot of the times our core concept of what I was trying to run with those guys was simply try to get paint touches,
right,
and get movement on the outside, whether it was spacing, whether if it was circling around for another penetration and get space, but it was try to get movement. And I think in the first half, we didn't focus on that. That wasn't our true focus. It was more so like, okay, we got to get this win, and we were playing hero ball. Everybody wanted to get theirs themselves rather than sticking to what we had done to that point to get us what we got.
Right. Love it. The last question that I have is sort of like an evaluation tool that I picked up from one of my former guests, Enrico Kufor. Do you do anything where, sort of like what we're doing today, where you appraise how you deliver your message to your guys after the game, where you look back and say like, this would have been better if we were running more of this, or this would have been better if I had said this in the scout. Do you do anything like that? And do you convey it to your guys if you do?
Honestly, I do. With these guys, I think I built such a great relationship with them where I too had to show them that I wasn't perfect.
Right.
As a coach. And when we played this game, I really addressed to them like, hey man, as a coach, I screwed up. I underestimated their shooting ability. Or, you guys did a great job with this. I'm always giving them the positive. And in this situation, I'm taking the negative, whether it's win or loss. Right. I should have did this better. I should have did that. And when it's coming to things, that are negative towards what they're doing, we could have. I never take myself out of that scenario. But when we look back on this game, I actually praised one of our kids that barely played all year, 6'11" kid off the bench. His name is Pierre Jerome. And he came in down the stretch and guarded Jaylen Stewart. And like, if he wasn't on the floor defensively at 6'11", sitting down, guarding a 6'5", like, I don't think we would have been in that position. With his length, his ability to contest shots, he was rebounding real active. And I think his energy level stepping up kind of helped us get over that hump.
Love it. Love it. I'm ready to move into a little bit of film unless somebody has a question for you. If not, I'll move in. Just as I mentioned to you before, everything, I know you had to switch over to, what's going on there? Sorry, guys, give me 1 second here. We can see that okay, right? We're good there?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
And plays smoothly?
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. Just as I mentioned before, I'm going to play each clip 2-3 times. I'll try to fumble through a description one of those times for anybody who might be listening. And then the last time, just sort of take us away, give us the background on it. So we're starting first play of the game. It was a set that I liked. You know, a lot of coaches are judged first play of the game if they're running something good type deal. So it's, I would call it like an Iverson cut over under. And then a cross screen to wedge your big guy into the post. The cross screen pops, you throw it in on the punch, and he just goes to work, draws the foul on the first play of the game. Talk to me about the set. Talk to me about options. Talk to me about why you're going to that first and what you're looking to establish. Give us the rundown there.
So knowing how Jaylen is, or our team is completely, I had to get him going early.
Right.
If he doesn't get a touch early in this game, it's a possibility that I lose him. And I wanted to set the tone knowing that McCollum couldn't guard him. So we wanted to make it clear from the jump, 6'5" wasn't doing anything with 6'10".
Right.
In this set, I think we've talked before the other night when we were talking about just offensive sets and different things like that. I like to do a lot of things that pretty much are like misdirections that don't have anything to do with what I'm really trying to, focus in on.
Right.
I really was trying to focus in on catching that switch between the kid that's guarding KJ Parker. I want to say that's number 4, trying to get them to switch that guard in the big. But they did a good job of, KJ didn't set a good screen. That was Phantom. He didn't set a great screen there on him. If he set a solid screen, that's a wide open layup and finish.
Right.
I really wanted to try to get that switch, but if we can't get that initially, you will reverse the ball to the top through KJ here. Sam Waters, number 4 on the wing, would dive, and it would pretty much be a dribble handoff into a ball screen with Carey sprinting from the opposite post.
Love it.
So it's a lot of movement. But here I was, satisfied with this attempt, trying to get him going early, and set our tone.
Love it. Yeah, the phantom screens get me. There's a lot of times in practice where it's like, who'd you screen? I'm wondering. And it'll be like, coach, that guy. And I'm like, no, that's who you were supposed to screen, but you didn't get the body on it.
Exactly. And like what you would see, like in this game, like the first 4 or 5 possessions were script. I called every set that we had. And it was a set for every player. Everybody ran something. Right. It was a play to give you your opportunity to get yours off early.
So next one was another set that I liked. This is a little bit farther into the game. I think it's like the 3rd or 4th possession. It kind of looks more like a horn set, but similar idea with your 4 and 5 at your elbow, I believe here. There's a rip screen on the other side of the floor, but that there's no real contact. But then I love this action where it's a get from the opposite forward that comes and then just sits behind for the wide open jump shot. Talk to me a little bit. There's obviously the putback on the offensive rebound, but talk to me a little bit about options in the set. And, if you take it a little bit deeper, what happens if you don't get something on this?
Right. So my bad, man. My main option in this set is to try to find that mismatch, get them to either switch it, because in this situation, the kid who catches this ball, Justin Johnson, he's 6'8". He's my 3-man, and he plays the point at his high school at 6'8". So his ability to get downhill on either of those defenders is what I was trying to focus in on, get a paint touch. And the other 3 guys on the outside, Anthony Robinson, KJ Parker. So right here on that catch, he should be driving on that line directly at number 4, right here in this corner, instead of just catching and shooting. And he should have drove right at that line,
right,
and made 4 make a decision. And now at this point, everybody else is moving based upon whatever he does offensively on that floor. And because he shot it, you see that Sam's able to get that offensive rebound. Also on this too, once that handoff comes, Jaylen Carey is to roll to the basket to make it harder to have that guy step back in front.
I personally spent 2 years at the high school level, and I started my own club, did a little bit of travel basketball, didn't have the caliber of kid that you are working with. I'm curious to know, when you're teaching a set like this, the play after the play stuff, or the action after the first action, how do you teach that kind of stuff to your guys? Will you let them go through, or are you telling them like this happens and then this has to happen after? Are you sort of letting them play, or are you like giving them 1, 2, 3 in a row type deal?
So we're pretty much playing based upon our concept. So right. in this set, the main option is the set is Justin. There's no other option. Jaylen can fake that handoff, right. But we really want to get to our base concept, which is what most people would call a dribble drive, right? In a sense. And I like to call it circle, where everyone moves 4 around 1 and get to that. So everything, when we run these sets, I allow them to have that freedom, but I also show them in everything that we run, we can get back to our base motion, which is that circle motion, as I like to call it. And we will go through it a couple of times, and I would stop it. I'm like, okay, well, if you drive here, now this person has to move here. Jaylen likes to float out to the 3-point line a lot, and, give him that freedom to slide out with those different things as well.
Love it. And you then basically are always relating it, as you said, to something that's familiar to them, something
exactly. Keep it simple.
There you go. Love it.
Keep it simple. That one thing that they love and enjoy is that base offense of our base. We called it base. They loved base because it gave them the opportunity to come off of ball screens, have freedom to put the ball on the floor, and show their athleticism. So they all love that. So being able to get back to that same set, it was cool for me.
Love it. This is sort of a staple on my show. I ask it every week. They turn the ball over, you guys bust out. And when you do, it's a 3-on-1, becoming a 3-on-2, shoots the transition 3. So in Coach Smith's offense, transition 3, yay or nay? And if yes, what do you have to do as a player to be able to shoot that? You did mention shot selection was something for you.
Yeah. So in this game, that player, Anthony Robinson, was hot. I think he led us in scoring. But if you look at Justin Johnson, they know my mindset. I usually tell them spray him. So if you get that shot, spray him. Let it go. Justin, instead of Justin sprinting to the rim, he sprint corner because he was ready to spray it too.
Right.
Get that shot off. Because in this instance, when I'm looking at it, we have more guys crashing the boards. They got 2 guys there. He takes a shot. By the time he shoots it, I'm 4 guys within that 3-point line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if he misses it, I still stand a chance to get another opportunity at getting a better shot. So yes, to answer that question, transition 3, spray him.
Love it. And every player will have that same ability within your offense, or are there guys that you might be like, maybe that's not the one for you type deal?
I'm pretty confident with those guys because we get up a lot of shots in our practices, more so workout based. And I'm not recruiting a guy if he can't be a 3-level player. Like you're just not gonna get on the floor for me if you can't play at all 3 levels consistent.
Right. I love it. I love the fact that you have that option as opposed to having to take what you get sometimes. But
right. Yeah.
Next one, you guys play 16-minute half, so we're 10 minutes in, and this is the first time I see this 2-2-1 being put in, and I did actually think that it was back into a zone, but it is well disguised. Kind of looks like a man. Kind of looks like a 2-3. So I would call it, say, like a matchup 2-3. Talk to me about a couple things. So just for anybody who's listening, your typical 2-2-1 comes back into a match. The offensive team, Seattle Rotary, moves the ball around, ends up with basically nothing, drives into the bump, and ends up turning the ball over after several passes on the offensive right side of the floor. So it's effective. But talk to me about why you decide to run this at this point, down 12 with 5-6 minutes left. Talk to me about sort of how you teach it and where, like, are you running the 2-2-1 to try and aggressively steal the ball, or are you just running it for time? And then when you get back into your matchup 2-3, are you now trying to aggressively steal, or are you trying to contain type deal?
Cool. So with running this, this was that big lineup I was telling you about. I saw that our ability with our length right now on that floor, we probably have every guy on the floor lengthwise is over 6'8" lengthwise. So we just wanted to be high and wide, active with our hands, and try to get deflections. With teaching this, the most important thing for me is that if you run it back to the beginning there for me, on that catch, on this catch initially in the 5, the guard 6 knows his job is to keep the ball on this side of the floor.
Right.
They can't go back to the other side. And we're going to take away the middle. We're going to take away all those options that they're used to having. Sam does a great job of cutting off this sideline as well. Once it comes back on the reverse, when it's reversed back over, they do a good job. KJ's a little too high up, but when it comes back, he does a great job of getting right here to the sideline to stop it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? He's getting there to try to cut it off, make him come back to Nigel. KJ's there. And at this point, we're in what I like to call a bump in 2-3. And we're going to bump him back. AJ's job, the guy in the middle, is to guard everything in the middle. And from there, we're just communicating. And at this point, the reason I went to this, because we needed a change of pace. Like, we tried to come out man to man. It wasn't working for us. Like I said in the beginning, Jaylen Stewart just lit us up outside from 3. So to be able to go on the floor with, Nigel being 6'6", Sam being 6'9", AJ 6'10", Jaylen 6'10", and KJ Parker at 6'2", I thought with that length and that ability to just put more pressure on the ball and just be pests, but still play the passing lane, and limit them to one shot selection, if not no shots. We stood a better chance.
Love it. In terms of gambling, what is sort of your philosophy on gambling on passes there? Like, as I said, it sounds like you're playing more to pressure and not to actively steal the ball, but sometimes kids are going to get tempted and go for it type deals. So what's sort of your philosophy or your teaching point on when it's okay to gamble versus contain, keep them in front of you, stay high, be active, all those kinds of things?
So I believe that if you go for it, you better get it.
Right.
And if you don't get it, you put us in a really, really bad situation. So if you notice when the ball is passed, you notice our guys are coming with hands up. Like, everybody's flying with hands to try to get their hand in the passing lane. I don't necessarily want to get steals. I'd rather get deflections. And right. I know that we're athletic enough with those for deflections to get runouts, and be able to create offense off those deflections.
Love it. We got one here that was kind of a weak moment defensively. I'm curious how you guys would play it within your concepts. So for anybody who's listening, the ball moves to the offensive left slot, and then moves back to the offensive right slot, then gets swung to the offensive right wing. The offensive right slot almost sets like a screen away, but like doesn't really make very good contact. And then from the other side of the floor, we get a bit of a shuffle cut and just ends up going for a layup. Correct this for me. What would you be saying to your guys? How would you want to defend it within your concepts? What do you see that I might not? Where's the breakdown to you?
So first things first, for me, KJ Parker, the kid 12 that's at the top, or one that's at the top, he's hugging his man on that basket cut. we're switching everything. We're switching everything. So automatically he should be staying up. Right here, Jaylen carries, man, has the ball. He doesn't have any pressure on him. We split the floor in thirds. So right now he would be in the right third of the floor for me. He shouldn't be able to get to the middle or the left third. So his pressure, he doesn't have to necessarily be in his chest, but you're allowing him to feel that comfortable from 30 feet to make a bounce pass through your 7 foot length, and he gets it there on that possession. I think on that backside, also Sam was a little hugged up on his man. He should have been 1 foot in the lane. And we teach that through Shell. And if they communicated, like if you see it initially, that initial one, they communicated the switch, they point, they talk to one another. On that initial pass. But on the next pass, the opposite pass, they're not communicating. Nigel's communicating on the backside, but he should be in the paint too, because his guy, granted, he's guarding the shooter, but he should have a foot in the paint right now for that option, just in case, we get caught like we did. So he should be back there because we're athletic enough and we're quick enough. If he skipped the ball from this right third to the corner of the left third, we should be able to get there, with our athleticism. So if we go from there, I'm looking on both. So if we go from this right third to that back corner, we should be able to get there on a pass.
Like it. So just in summary, this gentleman that I've got the arrow should be more, help side defense, almost in the lane, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. My question to you on this screen here, if you can see that ends up just sort of ghosting out and not making contact. Are you sending your guys over the shuffle, or are you sending them under and meeting it on the other side?
So initially on this shuffle, we're switching it. So right now, KJ
I'm sorry, I missed that. I apologize.
Yeah, KJ should be in drop. So I have a thing where I should never be looking at the defender's back. So I should never be chasing them. In order for him to score offensively on me, he has to score from outside the 3-point line. He should never be inside of me. So on that cut, KJ let him get inside of him. Sam's relaxing, and they end up getting the layup.
Love it. This one is a backcourt side out of bounds for you guys. You walk it over. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken on this clip, there are 2 high hedges that happen out of this offensive left slot. So the first one is the high hedge. And then the second one is sort of like a flat or a show at the line of the screen and over. And I'm just kind of wondering what your principles are on attacking these kinds of coverages here with the screen rescreen that's happening on this side of the floor. So again, left side of the floor, here's a high hedge. He brings it back. They rescreen. The big doesn't really get up this time, and he just keeps it and attacks.
So immediately with me, when teams high hedge us, I want to attack that high hedge and make that defender that's hedging hard have to step out and guard me. And immediately I'm going to come and rescreen, but we're going to go back the opposite way.
Okay.
Because when you think about it, if you look at the defender number 4 off this screen, or go back to the first part of it.
So here's your first one about to happen right here.
So if you look at 4 on the screen, he goes under, go. He goes, he tries, that was the second one.
That was the second one, I apologize. There we go. Here comes our first one, and
right here, stop. Did you see how the guy who hedged, he just came up and stepped back?
Yep.
He wasn't even a part of the play after he hedges. So immediately, if AJ comes right here to this defender's right side and set another screen going back left, now you're attacking with an open shot. So that's initially how we think when I teach this to them. If teams hedge, we're gonna attack the hedge, make them respect it, and we're gonna rescreen the opposite direction. But in this, he still uses the screen, which I was okay with. He ended up, he brought 2 to him, But it was a heavy loaded side. If you look at it, it's way too many people on that right side of the floor for him to make anything happen. And granted, he got to the rim, but his job, if he gets past that first guy on 6 and he gets to the second lower level down there, that should be a kick to the corner, because that guy in the corner, you see him moving back there. He drives by the first guy. He gets to the second guy. It should be a corner kick, but he was still able to get to the rim and get a shot attempt off.
Love it. End of the half set. So you guys are down 11 at this point. There's under 10. You guys just get a screen to the left, and it looks like to me one of your better players goes to work. Similar to what you say, you clear out that double side and turn it into a single side and get an open look. I'm wondering if this is a play call and if this is something that you practice end of half, or is this just guys making good reads?
This is our set we call base. And the single screen was ran the wrong direction. So Ant should have been driving hard to the left wing, I'm sorry. And AJ should have been setting the ball coming from the middle third of the floor to that left third. And on the initial screen, we automatically dive from the wing to the rim to pull a defender, which you see Sam automatically dives to pull his defender away to the basket. That way now you have somebody that's there taking up that space, and they switch, which was perfect for us. Their guard lost vision of Nigel. Ant made a great pass, corner, wide open 3. And I think at this point on this run, when we went to this big lineup, that shot kind of gave us momentum going into the second half. It gave us a lot of momentum.
So your dive, in an ideal world, you're, instead of setting this screen, you're setting this screen, as you're saying. And your dive is getting down here. Which way does he exit for you? Should he be coming to this side of the floor?
So initially, the ball handler should have been on the left side of the floor.
Right. So he should be over here.
He should be over by the Gatorade sign here.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And AJ should be setting it coming from the right side of the floor, going left, so that the guard can go right to the rim. So Sam would dive to the rim, and he would clear through.
Correct. I'm sorry, Addison. I just want to. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. And once he uses it, as soon as he uses the screen, Sam would cut to the rim all the way through to the left corner.
So he's going to keep going and exit to this side then.
Yeah, finish the exit through to the left corner. AJ's screen, he has the option to roll or set a down screen for KJ, opposite guard. And it's literally just to clear up space to get those driving lanes, and we get better movement and better flow offensively.
Love it. Let's move on. We got, this is one of your baseline out of bounds. I thought it worked pretty well. Looks like a 4 low type set. Talk to me about some options for anybody who's listening. Just basically it's an enter to the wing, and then a swing, an enter to the right corner, the offensive right corner. The ball gets reversed to the offensive right wing. He drives middle and attacks. And then that corner just sneaks in and gets a dunk on a beautiful drop off. The inbounder had exited opposite. Give me some options out of you running this, and how often will you catch them on this 2-man game on the right side of the floor?
So this initial set that we're running is flex. It's a 1-4 low, and I like to run it in the flex to get the switch with the point guard that's taking it out of bounds.
Right.
But they knew that possession, that it was coming. And you saw they tried to take away the reversal to Justin on that pop, and he was able to get that driving line. So I'm not going to take too much credit on it and say that, earlier, how we were talking about giving them the opportunity to just play and, do their things and be creative. This is one of those opportunities that they had in the game to be creative and just make a basketball play.
Love it. Next one is This one I thought was interesting because I had felt that you guys had been switching a lot throughout the game.
Hmm.
And then this coverage ended up sort of being like a drop and over type coverage. And I'm wondering if it was an adjustment that was made or if it was just somebody didn't get up to the line or, scout specific didn't feel he could shoot the ball well. But basically, the ball starts in that offensive left slot near that Gatorade logo. There's a double
Hmm.
sign on the right side of the floor. There's about to become a single sign on the left side of the floor. So for anybody who's listening, basically spread, pick and roll. And they attack, and uh, the Nightrydas go under and stay and drop and still end up basically getting all the way to the rim for a layup. So talk to me about, like, was it a switch or is this I'm just noticing bad defense here type deal?
Yeah, it was a bad defensive possession. I think I had I played Jaylen a little too long. He needed a breather.
Right.
In a perfect world, he would sprint up on that, and he would be able. We would switch it, and he would be able to guard that guy coming downhill. But to this point, he was tired. I mean, he played about 29 and a half of a 32-minute game every game. He was beat. He was drained, and we paid for it. I think KJ, the guard guarding the ball, as well, could have did a better job of guarding the ball initially, with better ball pressure. We usually don't go under screens because we're switching it, and if we don't switch it, we're gonna fight over it. I mean, it's the EYBL. They don't call fouls much.
Right.
They let you play through certain things. They don't call tic tac, touchy fouls, maybe here and there, but it's a man's game, and we try to treat it as such. So this was just a lazy possession for us, and to add to it, this is one of those things like we talked about. We go from being down 38-30 at half. We're up now by 2
Yep.
in this game, and it was like we could not pile up 2 stops. We would get a stop and score, and then we would come back and be lazy on defense or miss an assignment defensively, let somebody get a shot, and it'll be a one possession game again.
Love it. I have one more question about this one. To me, it looks like your ball, excuse me, your ball defender is influencing sideline baseline at the start here. You mentioned that there were some errors in this clip, but I'm wondering, you did mention you split the floor into thirds. Were you trying to down or ice at this point at all? Or has he just decided that he's going to influence in the wrong direction here?
Correct. He like at this point, we're playing. We're not trying to ice it. I thought that their guards were crafty enough handling it, like you can see, to get downhill on the ice. So we're just gonna guard it. They're gonna call the screen out. We're gonna try our best to get through it, and make things happen.
Love it. And then I got another set that I liked, which is basically the same set from the beginning of the game, where you get the Iverson cuts, you get the cross screen happening, you punch the ball inside and let your big man go to work. And I mean, I think it was a good summary from the last clip, which was about 6 minutes left, to this clip to say in those 4 minutes, your big went to work and really, and a couple minutes before, really got you back into this game, helped you create this lead. My question to this was, how are you the kind of coach that is okay going to the same player or same action over and over and over and essentially say, you can't guard this, as opposed to being the kind of coach who's like, I'm going to mix it up offensively all the time, keep them guessing? And I suspect I know the answer here, but give me an idea of this set and what's going through your mind at this point of the game, and if you feel you can just keep going to them.
I mean, honestly, uh, I'm a firm believer if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Right.
And like you said, for a 4-minute stretch, we didn't run the same play, but we ran. You knew every play that we ran was going to get to that same action. You know what I mean? It was gonna get directly to that same action,
Right.
uh, where Jaylen was catching it in the post, whether it was left or right block, and you had to decide what you were gonna do. whether you were going to double him. If you were going to double him, he's smart enough to pass out of it. Or if you were just going to play him straight up, he was just going to man you to the rim, whether it was left shoulder, right shoulder, he was going to make a play and get to the rim.
So one thing I definitely wanted to make sure that I give you credit for in this episode, and it comes to mind because Coach Cam Daly is on here, and I want to give Cam a shout out. He's definitely one of my guys, but I always watch his Instagram stuff of what a good trainer he is, etc. And I think he could comment on the fact that the art of feeding the post is dying. It's not a skill set that exists anymore. And to me, all game long, it seemed like your guys were very capable of making that punch pass with no problem. So kudos to you, sir. And I know credit goes to the players as well for being able to do it. But, just it's such a dying asset in this game to see somebody still be able to make passes into the post and then make proper cuts off of it from there.
No, for sure. Actually, shout out to Coach Cam Daly too, because this weekend of this tournament, he actually allowed us to use his facility before he left to get up shots and be able to put in some of these plays and some of these actions and kind of come up with finding that identity. So shout out to you, Coach, for helping us out with that. But I definitely agree, man. Post entries, just simple basketball skills that when you and I were growing up that we were taught are like lost arts now.
Right.
You know, like kids aren't working on post entries or how to properly set a screen and roll and open, like little things that we were taught growing up as kids. They're not teaching them that anymore. You know, they're more focused on 6 dribble combo moves to get to a step back fadeaway than taking a 1 dribble pull up, you know, or being able to shoot a right or left hand jump hook. Like some kids that I know right now couldn't even tell you what a miking drill is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't want to get off topic, but
yeah, no,
we could talk about that all day.
We really could because I got a birthday coming up. By the time this comes out, I will now be in another decade of life, and it really makes me old seeing some of these changes, without a doubt, for sure.
No, for sure, man.
All right, so we got 2 that are left that I think sort of summarize the end of game, which is why I chose them. You guys are up 1. There's 15 seconds. It's their side out of bounds. For anybody who's listening, basically it's on the offensive left side of the floor. They inbound, they attack middle, they get down the lane line, and they do miss a contested shot that is contested by the gentleman who is guarding the nail. Not much of a screen that slowed it down. I'm assuming you probably breathed a bit of a sigh of relief when this shot was missed, but sort of walk me through what you're telling your guys, side out at this point in the game, up 1. And I mean, there was no timeout. So how are you conveying it on the fly to them?
So initially in this possession, when we broke the huddle, the only guy that wasn't leaving someone was AJ Pierre Jerome, who's guarding 3 right here in front of us on the film here. He was the guy who got things done. He's on the block initially. Everyone else was told we can switch everything because I truly believe that our guys were dialed in. You know, we're up 1 with 12 seconds left. We're dialed in enough to get this stop here, which we did. Granted, would I have liked KJ's defense to be better? Yeah, being crunch time in this game. But we got the stop that we needed. Jaylen made a great job of trying to contest that layup. It still got to the rim. I think he partially blocked it though.
With a big rebound.
And secured that big rebound for us. And if you even look, like the kid AJ, like this is how dialed in I love about our kids. If you look at him in this possession, he's guarding the guy on the block. He's connected all the way through the possession. Shot goes up, he's boxing him. Like this dude's not getting the ball.
Right.
He's not going to be the one that beats us. And that's what I told him in the huddle. And they followed through with it. And you see everybody's flying in, boxing out, trying to be a part of the play.
Love it. I misrepresented something in my characterization of this. I'm sorry, because I pulled all clips. I did not know that this was an after timeout. I thought that it flowed through from one clip to another from all clips on Synergy. I don't have a continuous version. I apologize. I do have one question though. On this right-handed attack, this gentleman that's right here, and I'll circle him for you, with his
Justin
player
Johnson.
with his player lifting, what is sort of your philosophy on the stunt versus the actual slide over and cut off the spot type deal? What are you teaching your guys with that single side help on the lift? Because technically that's going to become your new strong side, and a lot of coaches don't like to help off of the strong side. But
Right.
you're 15 seconds left, and you want to slow the ball. What do you teach your guys?
The only place I'm not helping on the strong side from is corner. In usual situations like this, Justin should step over, and it's an automatic switch. Because if he takes away that lane line,
Right.
the only option he has is to either take an in and out dribble out to the corner, or hand it off to that guard that's coming on the wing. So anytime we get driving lanes on single side, we try to treat them like dribble handoffs, and we switch them automatically. And I think initially what the set was supposed to be, it was actually supposed to be a dribble handoff to the guard that's on the single side,
Right.
into a ball screen for a shot for the kid 3 coming off to the wing.
Right.
I don't think it was initially set for to get all the way to the rim, but he saw that opportunity with Justin playing Matador defense.
Little late for you. That's
yeah.
All right. So then, you guys secure the rebound, you make your free throws, you come back down, they're down 3, it's side out again. What do you like? I mean, you've seen this scenario obviously pretty recently. There's 4 seconds left. What are you telling your guys in terms of, what to look for? And for anybody who's listening to the actual set, it's an interesting action that surprisingly doesn't get a very good shot. They're in a box set. They run a pin down in a zip cut. And then I think we're supposed to cross screen at the same time that they were flare screening at the top. And the cross screen on the low side sort of forgets and tries to pop as well. And because of that, the gentleman who's coming for the shot gets a contested look. They miss, game done.
Correct. So you want to know a crazy thing? So I look back. Do you know where he got that set from? I bet you can't even think of it.
I think this
remember the Spurs.
Hold on, Chris has got his hand up. Let's hear it, Chris.
Yeah, it looks like blocker mover.
It does look like blocker mover. I actually think though that this is a Brad Stevens end of game set. Correct. That I have seen the Celtics run.
And it was that Spurs Magic game that they ran for Dwight Howard for the lob.
Okay.
That was the set. He told me after the game that's what he was looking for on the set. So initially defensively for us, Sam's doing a great job of being active on the ball. Our guys know that on these possessions side out of bounds, they got to catch it in the backcourt. That's the only place I would rather them catch it is in the backcourt. Right. And we're switching everything else other than with 3. So Anthony did a great job of hedging, giving AJ the opportunity to get back, and we chased everything, switched everything else from there out.
So when you're giving instruction, it's a switch everything type deal, and just basically you're saying something along the lines of don't foul, stay attached.
Yeah, exactly. Stay attached to your man. Switch everything, but with 4, chase him with 3, chase him out. Like he did a great job chasing him out. They could switch. Him and Jaylen could switch simply because of their size and ability to contest that shot. And if they shoot it, contest high hands. I would like Justin to be able to stay on the ground, because that's scary. He could have picked up a foul there. Now that you look at it, he takes them out, didn't get touched, hands high contest. He tried to kick his leg out.
Yep, he did. You're right. I see it. And he probably made a little bit of contact, but not enough to get it. And he did go same hand to same hand, extra 8% on the contest. I love it. I will definitely say the more that I watch this set as I go through it, Chris, this is definitely blocker mover.
For sure.
That's the low screen on the bottom side. It just seems like this gentleman forgot his screen.
Yeah, he missed his screen. And his screen was supposed to be for the corner.
Yeah, that's a tough one if he makes contact on it. I think he screened the wrong guy. He got the guy on the pin down, and then he forgot to cross screen underneath, and because of that, that was a wrap. Love it. Pulled out the win in the end. Was an exciting game to watch. Came back from a huge deficit. If anybody has any questions, please feel free. I think there's something in the chat here. Sorry. Power windows. Love it, LB. But Addison, like a fun fact for anybody who's listening, I actually met Addison while he was giving a presentation in a group that I was in, and he was phenomenal then. And I'm happy to be able to sit down with you all this time later after spending so much time listening, learning from you. That group is definitely, as I said in the group earlier today, I mean, I have so much respect for every gentleman that's in there, and thank you for sharing and allowing me to learn from you and taking the time to hop on. I really appreciate it. I hope everyone continues to find value. Addison, just thanks so much for your time, man. This was awesome. You're a killer. You're doing big things, man, for sure.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for everything. Also, congratulations to you too, man. And everything you do. Thank you guys for taking out of your time to hang out with us today. You know, this is something that's different from me. Used to being the guy in the back in the shadows. Now we, you know, starting to make our way to the light. So
I hear it.
Just thanks again for the opportunity.
No, it's my pleasure. Absolutely. Gentlemen, please feel free to stick around. For all the coaches that jump on, big thank you. Really appreciate you guys. For everybody who listens, please let me know if it continues to add value. I wanted to do that. I'll see you guys next week.